My senior developer told me, "It's a free market, may the best product win," when he announced his resignation to start a competing company using our proprietary AI algorithms. My name is Theodore Walsh, 49 years old, software development director with 21 years of experience building enterprise-level machine learning platforms. I had spent 3 years and $1.2 million developing our flagship AI algorithm suite, with comprehensive patent applications filed through our legal team 6 months earlier. When Ryan Hughes declared his intentions during our team meeting with unusual confidence, I simply said, "Congratulations on your entrepreneurial initiative." What Hughes didn't realize was that my systematic approach to code management and intellectual property documentation had created comprehensive tracking systems that recorded every access, modification, and download of our proprietary development repositories. The resignation meeting took place in our main conference room on a Wednesday afternoon, with our entire 12-person development team present for what Hughes had requested as an important announcement about my professional future. "I've decided to launch my own artificial intelligence company, focusing on the same market vertical we've been developing here," Hughes announced, while looking directly at me with what seemed like calculated defiance. "My new platform will offer more innovative solutions and faster deployment capabilities than what we've been building under current management constraints." I maintained professional composure while noting Hughes's reference to current management constraints, which likely meant the systematic documentation and intellectual property protection protocols I had implemented throughout our development process. "Ryan, we appreciate your contributions to our development efforts," I replied. "What timeline are you planning for your transition?" Hughes had clearly prepared for this question. "I'm providing standard 2 weeks notice, but I've already assembled my core team and secured initial seed funding for immediate market launch." The confidence in his statement suggested months of preparation rather than spontaneous entrepreneurial decision-making. Hughes was announcing not just resignation, but a fully formed competitor that would directly challenge our market position. "Our competitive advantage will come from streamlined development processes and elimination of excessive documentation requirements," Hughes continued, clearly targeting the systematic approach I had implemented to protect our intellectual property. I had been expecting this moment for several weeks. Hughes's behavior patterns had changed noticeably over the past 3 months, with increased after-hours access to development systems and unusual interest in algorithm components outside his normal responsibilities. "We understand that talented developers often pursue independent opportunities," I responded. "We'll ensure a smooth transition of your current project responsibilities." Hughes smiled, with what appeared to be suppressed satisfaction. "Actually, I won't be transitioning any specific project since I'll be developing completely original algorithms from scratch. My new platform will be built on entirely independent intellectual property." The statement was both technically impossible and legally problematic. Hughes had been intimately involved in our core algorithm development for over 2 years, with detailed knowledge of proprietary methods that had taken our team years to develop and refine. After the meeting, I returned to my office and immediately accessed our code repository monitoring systems to review Hughes's recent activity patterns. What I discovered in the first 30 minutes of analysis was sufficient evidence to contact our intellectual property attorney, Marcus Bradley, for immediate consultation. The automated tracking logs showed that Hughes had been systematically accessing restricted development branches during non-business hours, downloading complete algorithm libraries that represented our most valuable intellectual property. "Marcus, I need emergency consultation about potential intellectual property theft by a departing employee," I explained during our confidential phone call. "The access logs show systematic downloading of proprietary code that took years to develop." Marcus had handled IP protection for technology companies throughout his 15-year career and immediately recognized the seriousness of systematic code theft by departing employees. "Theodore, if Hughes has been downloading proprietary algorithms with intent to use them in competing products, we're looking at trade secret misappropriation and potential criminal theft charges," he explained. The evidence I was compiling showed not just casual code review, but systematic extraction of our most valuable intellectual property during a period when Hughes was apparently planning his competing venture. Hughes's repository access had focused specifically on our machine learning model architectures, training data optimization algorithms, and performance enhancement techniques that represented years of research and development investment. The pattern shows deliberate selection of our most valuable IP components, I documented. Hughes wasn't just reviewing code, he was systematically copying our core competitive advantages. But the most damaging evidence was Hughes's access to patent application drafts that contained detailed technical specifications for algorithms he was claiming he would develop independently. Hughes downloaded our pending patent applications 3 weeks ago, I noted. He knows exactly what IP protection we've filed and what technical specifications are covered under our applications. This knowledge would allow Hughes to either avoid our patent claims or directly infringe while understanding our legal protection strategies. Marcus reviewed my preliminary evidence and immediately recommended comprehensive documentation preservation and potential legal action to prevent Hughes from using stolen intellectual property. Theodore, we need to secure all evidence immediately and consider emergency injunctive relief to prevent Hughes from using your proprietary algorithms, Marcus advised. The systematic documentation I had maintained throughout our development process was providing comprehensive evidence that would expose Hughes's systematic theft while protecting our intellectual property through proper legal channels. Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted with your most valuable work was systematically stealing it to destroy your competitive position? Professional documentation and IP protection become essential when talented employees decide to become predatory competitors. My career-building enterprise machine learning platforms had been founded on the principle that systematic documentation and intellectual property protection were essential for sustainable competitive advantage in rapidly evolving technology markets. The development team I had assembled at Quantum Analytic Solutions represented over 85 years of combined experience in artificial intelligence, with proprietary algorithms that positioned us as leaders in predictive analytics and automated decision-making systems. I had joined Quantum Analytics as development director in 2019, when the company was transitioning from traditional data analysis to cutting-edge machine learning applications. My background in both software architecture and patent law had made me the ideal candidate to build IP-protected development processes that could withstand competitive pressure and talent migration. Theodore's systematic approach to intellectual property protection gives us sustainable advantages that competitors can't easily replicate, CEO Jennifer Martinez had noted during my performance reviews. His documentation methods ensure that our competitive advantages remain with the company, regardless of personnel changes. The development methodology I had implemented included comprehensive code documentation, detailed patent application processes, and systematic tracking of all intellectual property creation and modification activities. Ryan Hughes had joined our team 18 months earlier as senior developer, bringing impressive credentials from his previous position at Microsoft's AI research division. His technical skills were exceptional, but his attitudes toward intellectual property protection and systematic documentation had always created tension within our structured development environment. Theodore, your documentation requirements slow down development velocity, Hughes had complained regularly. Agile development shouldn't be constrained by excessive paperwork and legal formalities. I had consistently explained that intellectual property documentation was essential for protecting the competitive advantages that justified our premium pricing and venture capital investment. Ryan, our algorithms represent millions of dollars in research investment, I would respond. Comprehensive documentation ensures that we can defend our IP rights when competitors attempt to replicate our innovations. But Hughes viewed systematic documentation as bureaucratic obstacles rather than strategic protection for valuable intellectual property. Fast-moving startups don't have time for patent applications and legal documentation, Hughes had argued during our development planning meetings. We need to focus on shipping products and gaining market share. The philosophical differences between Hughes and my approach had been manageable when he was contributing to development under my oversight, but his recent behavior suggested he was planning to circumvent our IP protection systems for personal advantage. The machine learning algorithms we had developed represented breakthrough innovations in automated pattern recognition and predictive modeling that exceeded industry standards by significant margins. Our flagship AI platform could process unstructured datasets and generate actionable insights 340% faster than competing solutions, with accuracy rates that consistently exceeded 94% in real-world applications. Quantum Analytics AI platform delivers performance metrics that are unmatched in the current market, industry analysts had noted in their competitive reviews. Their proprietary algorithms represent genuine technological advancement rather than incremental improvement. The commercial value of our intellectual property had attracted Series B funding of $15 million from venture capital firms that specifically valued our patent portfolio and IP protection strategies. Theodore's systematic approach to intellectual property protection provides investor confidence that quantum analytics' competitive advantages are sustainable and defensible, venture partner Robert Kim had explained during funding negotiations. But Hughes had apparently viewed our successful IP protection as constraints on his personal opportunities, rather than strategic assets that protected everyone's work. The technical specifications I had developed included detailed documentation of algorithm architecture, training data methodologies, and performance optimization techniques that had taken our team years to perfect. Our machine learning models incorporate proprietary techniques for data pre-processing, feature extraction, and model validation that represent genuine innovations in artificial intelligence. I had documented in our patent applications. These innovations weren't obvious extensions of existing technology, but original solutions to complex problems that had challenged the AI development community for years. Hughes's access to these proprietary techniques through his development work had provided him with knowledge that would typically require years of independent research to acquire. Ryan has been exposed to our most advanced algorithmic techniques through his role in core development, I had noted in personnel files. His knowledge of our proprietary methods represents significant competitive intelligence. The systematic code repository management I had implemented tracked every access, modification, and download of proprietary components, creating comprehensive audit trails that could demonstrate authorized versus unauthorized usage patterns. All development activity is logged automatically with timestamps, user identification, and specific file access records, I had explained to our legal team. This documentation provides clear evidence of who accessed what intellectual property and when. But Hughes had apparently assumed that his legitimate development access would provide cover for systematic extraction of proprietary algorithms for personal use. The repository logs I was analyzing showed that Hughes's recent access patterns had shifted from collaborative development to systematic downloading of complete algorithm libraries. Hughes's activity shows he was downloading entire code modules rather than accessing specific files for development work, I documented. The pattern indicates systematic extraction rather than normal collaborative programming. His access had focused specifically on our most valuable intellectual property, the core machine learning models that provided our primary competitive advantages. These algorithms represented 3 years of intensive development and $1.2 million in research investment that Hughes was apparently planning to replicate in his competing venture. The detailed patent applications I had filed months earlier established clear ownership and protection for the exact algorithms that Hughes had been accessing and downloading. Our patent filings include comprehensive technical specifications that cover the core algorithms Hughes has been extracting, I noted. His use of these techniques in competing products would constitute clear infringement. But the most concerning aspect was Hughes's timing. His systematic downloading had accelerated during the same period, when he was apparently planning his competing company and securing initial funding. Have you ever realized that a trusted team member was systematically stealing your most valuable work while pretending to be a collaborative colleague? Technical talent becomes dangerous when combined with predatory intentions and access to proprietary innovations. The comprehensive analysis I conducted during Hughes's notice period revealed that his systematic intellectual property theft had been planned and executed with sophisticated understanding of our development systems and legal vulnerabilities. His extraction of proprietary algorithms wasn't opportunistic misconduct, but a carefully orchestrated scheme to steal our competitive advantages while maintaining plausible deniability about independent development. My forensic review of repository access logs showed that Hughes had been conducting unauthorized downloads during specific time periods when normal development activity would be minimal, suggesting deliberate attempts to avoid detection by routine monitoring systems. Hughes consistently accessed restricted code libraries between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. on weekends, I documented. These access patterns indicate systematic extraction rather than legitimate development work. The sophistication of his approach included using legitimate development tools and access credentials to mask the unauthorized nature of his activities, making detection more difficult without comprehensive audit trail analysis. Hughes used standard development commands and repository tools to download complete algorithm libraries, I noted. His methods were designed to appear like normal development activities to casual observation. But the volume and scope of his downloads far exceeded anything justified by his assigned project responsibilities or collaborative development needs. The intellectual property attorney Marcus Bradley reviewed my evidence compilation and immediately recognized the systematic nature of Hughes's theft and the potential criminal liability for trade secret misappropriation. Theodore, Hughes's activity shows classic patterns of systematic IP theft by departing employees, Marcus observed. The timing, scope, and methodology indicate deliberate misappropriation rather than accidental overaccess. The technical specifications Hughes had extracted included not just source code, but comprehensive documentation of algorithm architecture, performance optimization techniques, and proprietary training methodologies that represented our core competitive advantages. Hughes downloaded complete technical documentation packages that would allow independent implementation of our proprietary algorithms, I documented. The extracted materials include everything necessary to replicate our competitive advantages. Most damaging was Hughes's access to our pending patent applications, which provided detailed technical specifications and claim language that would allow him to either avoid our protection or directly infringe while understanding our legal strategies. Hughes reviewed our patent application drafts multiple times during his final month, I noted. His knowledge of our IP protection strategies creates significant competitive intelligence advantages. The investigation also revealed that Hughes had been communicating with potential investors and technical partners during company time, using our development systems to demonstrate capabilities that were based entirely on stolen intellectual property. Hughes's email logs show investor communications that included technical demonstrations using our proprietary algorithms, I discovered. He was essentially marketing our intellectual property as his own innovations. The investor presentation materials that Hughes had prepared included technical specifications and performance metrics that were identical to our proprietary algorithms, proving that his independent development claims were completely false. Hughes's investor deck includes algorithm performance data that matches our proprietary systems exactly, Marcus noted. The technical specifications are too detailed to be coincidental and prove systematic copying. But Hughes had made critical errors that would expose his systematic theft and destroy his credibility with investors and potential business partners. His presentation materials included proprietary variable names, function structures, and optimization techniques that were unique to our development environment and couldn't have been created independently. Hughes's code includes internal variable names and function architectures that are specific to our development methodology, I documented. These elements prove that his algorithms were copied directly from our proprietary systems. The patent application analysis revealed even more damaging evidence. Hughes's planned algorithms infringed multiple claims from our pending patent applications, which he had accessed and reviewed before developing his competing technology. Hughes's technical specifications violate at least 14 claims from our patent applications, Marcus calculated. His access to our pending applications proves willful infringement rather than accidental similarity. The criminal implications were significant. Hughes's systematic theft of trade secrets, combined with his commercial use of stolen intellectual property, constituted multiple felony violations that could result in substantial prison time and financial penalties. Trade secret theft for commercial advantage carries federal penalties up to 10 years in prison, plus restitution for all damages, Marcus explained. Hughes's systematic approach and commercial exploitation create maximum criminal exposure. But the most immediate concern was preventing Hughes from using our stolen intellectual property to gain unfair competitive advantages while we built criminal and civil cases against him. We need emergency injunctive relief to prevent Hughes from using your proprietary algorithms in his competing products, Marcus recommended. The evidence of systematic theft justifies immediate court intervention. The comprehensive documentation I had maintained throughout our development process was providing overwhelming evidence that would support both criminal prosecution and civil litigation against Hughes's systematic intellectual property theft. Your systematic approach to IP documentation has created comprehensive evidence that makes Hughes's theft prosecution inevitable, Marcus noted. The audit trails and technical specifications eliminate most defense strategies. The patent applications I had filed months earlier were proving essential for establishing clear ownership of the contested algorithms and demonstrating that Hughes's use constituted willful infringement of protected intellectual property. Our patent applications establish prior art and ownership that predates Hughes's access to the algorithms, Marcus explained. His commercial use violates our pending patent claims and creates additional liability. The evidence compilation was revealing not just individual theft, but systematic conspiracy to misappropriate trade secrets for commercial exploitation that warranted federal investigation and prosecution. Hughes's activities constitute organized theft of intellectual property that crosses state lines through his investor communications and business formation, Marcus observed. The interstate commerce aspects create federal jurisdiction for prosecution. The strategic response we were developing included simultaneous criminal referrals, civil litigation, and patent infringement claims that would comprehensively address Hughes's theft while protecting our competitive advantages. Multiple legal approaches ensure comprehensive accountability and maximum protection for your intellectual property, Marcus explained. Hughes's systematic theft creates exposure on criminal, civil, and patent law fronts. Hughes's confidence during his resignation announcement was about to encounter systematic evidence and comprehensive legal strategy that would expose every aspect of his intellectual property theft while ensuring appropriate accountability. Have you ever assembled evidence so comprehensive that someone's systematic theft became impossible to deny or defend? Professional documentation systems sometimes become the foundation for exposing sophisticated intellectual property fraud by trusted employees. The legal strategy that Marcus Bradley developed for confronting Hughes's systematic intellectual property theft required careful coordination between patent enforcement, trade secret protection, and criminal referral procedures to maximize our chances of complete IP recovery while ensuring appropriate prosecution for his deliberate theft. The evidence I had compiled provided overwhelming proof of systematic misappropriation, but the legal response needed to prevent Hughes from using stolen algorithms while building comprehensive cases across multiple jurisdictions. Theodore, Hughes's theft creates exposure under federal trade secret laws, state intellectual property statutes, and patent infringement regulations, Marcus explained during our strategic planning session. The comprehensive evidence you've compiled supports simultaneous legal actions that will completely eliminate his ability to compete using your stolen algorithms. The Patent and Trademark Office investigation that Marcus initiated would establish federal protection for our algorithms while creating prior art documentation that would prevent Hughes from filing competing patent applications for stolen technology. Our patent applications predate Hughes's access to the algorithms by 18 months, Marcus noted. The PTO investigation will establish clear ownership and protection that prevents Hughes from claiming independent development. But the most immediate priority was securing emergency injunctive relief that would prevent Hughes from using our proprietary algorithms in his competing products while we built comprehensive criminal and civil cases. We need temporary restraining orders that prohibit Hughes from using any technology that incorporates your proprietary algorithms, Marcus recommended. The evidence of systematic theft justifies immediate court intervention. The federal trade secret referral would trigger FBI investigation of Hughes's systematic theft and commercial exploitation of stolen intellectual property, creating criminal liability that could result in substantial prison time and financial penalties. Trade secret theft that crosses state lines through commercial exploitation carries federal penalties up to 20 years in prison, Marcus explained. Hughes's investor communications and business formation create interstate commerce violations. Meanwhile, I was documenting additional evidence of Hughes's theft while maintaining normal business operations to avoid alerting him to the scope of our investigation and legal preparation. Marcus, continuing normal operations while building comprehensive legal cases requires careful balance, I noted. We need to secure all evidence without creating suspicion that might prompt Hughes to destroy records or modify his stolen algorithms. The technical analysis I was conducting revealed that Hughes's investor presentations included not just copied algorithms, but proprietary performance optimizations and training methodologies that represented years of specialized development work. Hughes's technical demonstrations use optimization techniques that took our team 2 years to develop and refine, I documented. His access to these proprietary methods through systematic theft creates unfair competitive advantages. The patent infringement analysis was particularly damaging to Hughes's position. His planned algorithms violated multiple specific claims from our pending patent applications, which he had accessed and reviewed before developing his competing technology. Hughes's technical specifications infringe at least 23 distinct claims from our patent portfolio, Marcus calculated. His prior access to our patent applications proves willful infringement rather than accidental similarity. The criminal referral documentation I was preparing included comprehensive evidence of Hughes's systematic theft, commercial exploitation plans, and attempts to deceive investors about the origin of his technology. Hughes's investor communications claim independent development of algorithms that are identical to our proprietary systems, I compiled. The technical specifications prove systematic copying rather than original innovation. But Hughes had made additional errors that would strengthen our legal position and demonstrate the systematic nature of his intellectual property theft. His business formation documents included technical descriptions and performance metrics that could only have been derived from our proprietary development work, providing additional evidence of systematic misappropriation. Hughes's business plan includes algorithm performance data that matches our internal testing results exactly, I discovered. The specificity of the technical claims proves access to our proprietary development records. The investor due diligence materials that Hughes had prepared included technical specifications that violated our trade secret protection and demonstrated systematic extraction of competitive intelligence. Hughes provided investors with detailed technical architectures that represent our most valuable intellectual property, Marcus noted. His commercial exploitation of stolen trade secrets creates maximum liability under federal protection statutes. The comprehensive legal strategy was designed to prevent Hughes from gaining any competitive advantage through systematic theft, while ensuring maximum accountability through criminal prosecution and civil liability. Multiple legal approaches create overlapping protection that prevents Hughes from using stolen IP while maximizing recovery for your development investment, Marcus explained. The Patent Office investigation was proceeding rapidly due to the comprehensive evidence of Hughes's access to our pending applications and his subsequent development of infringing algorithms. PTO investigators have confirmed that Hughes's technical specifications violate multiple claims from your patent applications, Marcus reported. The investigation supports both infringement liability and fraud charges for attempting to patent stolen technology. The FBI trade secret investigation was similarly advancing based on the systematic evidence of commercial theft and interstate exploitation that Hughes's business activities represented. Federal investigators recognize this as a textbook case of systematic trade secret theft by departing employees, Marcus noted. The evidence you've compiled eliminates most defense strategies and supports maximum criminal penalties. But the most effective aspect of our legal strategy was the comprehensive injunctive relief that would prevent Hughes from using any stolen intellectual property while we pursued criminal prosecution and civil damages. The injunctive relief will immediately eliminate Hughes's competitive advantages while preserving your market position, Marcus explained. His investors will recognize that his technology platform is based on stolen IP and withdraw funding support. The coordinated legal approach was designed to comprehensively address Hughes's systematic theft, while protecting our intellectual property through multiple legal mechanisms that would ensure complete accountability. Hughes's systematic theft creates vulnerability across criminal, civil, and patent law that provides comprehensive protection for your intellectual property, Marcus observed. The evidence I had compiled through systematic documentation was providing the foundation for legal actions that would not only recover our stolen IP, but also establish industry precedents for protecting proprietary algorithms from theft by departing employees. Have you ever built evidence so systematic that it supported simultaneous legal actions across multiple jurisdictions to address comprehensive intellectual property theft? Sometimes professional documentation becomes the foundation for establishing legal precedents that protect entire industries from systematic IP fraud. The coordinated legal actions that began executing 4 weeks after Hughes's resignation created immediate disruption to his competing venture, while exposing the systematic nature of his intellectual property theft to investors, partners, and potential clients who had been deceived about the origin of his technology platform. The Patent Office investigation, FBI trade secret referral, and emergency injunctive proceedings proceeded simultaneously, creating comprehensive legal pressure that eliminated Hughes's ability to compete using stolen algorithms. The temporary restraining order that Judge Patricia Morrison granted, after reviewing our evidence, immediately prohibited Hughes from using any technology that incorporated our proprietary algorithms, effectively shutting down his competing platform and forcing him to explain to investors why his product development had suddenly stopped. Mr. Hughes is enjoined from using, distributing, or commercializing any algorithms, source code, or technical specifications that were developed at Quantum Analytics Solutions, Judge Morrison ordered. The evidence of systematic intellectual property theft justifies immediate protective measures. Hughes's response to the injunctive relief revealed the extent to which his entire business model depended on stolen intellectual property rather than independent innovation. Hughes's investor communications show panic and confusion about how to proceed without access to the algorithms he claimed were his original development, Marcus reported after reviewing court filings. The Patent Office investigation was proceeding with unprecedented speed due to the comprehensive evidence of Hughes's access to our pending applications and his subsequent development of infringing technology. PTO investigators have determined that Hughes's patent applications are essentially identical to your proprietary algorithms, patent examiner Sarah Martinez reported. His applications will be rejected for prior art violations and potential fraud in patent prosecution. But more damaging to Hughes's credibility was the discovery that he had been attempting to patent algorithms that he knew were covered by our existing applications, demonstrating willful infringement and systematic deception. Hughes filed patent applications for technology that he had accessed through your pending applications, Martinez noted. This constitutes fraud in patent prosecution that carries additional criminal liability. The FBI trade secret investigation was revealing that Hughes's systematic theft was part of a broader pattern of intellectual property misappropriation that extended beyond our company to previous employers and collaborative partners. Hughes has been systematically stealing intellectual property throughout his career, FBI investigator Thomas Reynolds reported. Your case provided the comprehensive evidence that allowed us to identify similar theft patterns at his previous positions. The federal investigation was expanding to include Hughes's activities at Microsoft and 2 previous technology companies where he had apparently used similar methods to extract proprietary algorithms for personal advantage. Hughes's systematic approach to IP theft suggests professional criminal activity rather than isolated misconduct, Reynolds noted. The pattern evidence supports enhanced criminal penalties under organized crime statutes. Meanwhile, Hughes's investors were conducting emergency due diligence reviews after learning about the intellectual property litigation and discovering that his technology platform was based entirely on stolen algorithms. Hughes's series of funding has been suspended pending resolution of the IP theft allegations. Venture partner Robert Kim announced, investors cannot support companies built on stolen intellectual property. The investor withdrawal was creating additional financial pressure on Hughes, while eliminating his ability to hire legal representation or continue business operations during the litigation process. Hughes's business model collapses without investor funding because his entire competitive advantage was based on stolen technology, Marcus observed. But the most significant development was Hughes's criminal exposure, expanding beyond trade secret theft to include wire fraud, conspiracy, and organized intellectual property trafficking that carried potential sentences exceeding 20 years in federal prison. Hughes's systematic theft and commercial exploitation create federal criminal liability that extends far beyond simple trade secret misappropriation, prosecutor Jennifer Hayes explained. The wire fraud charges resulted from Hughes's use of interstate communications to market stolen intellectual property to investors and potential clients who were deceived about the technology's origin. Hughes used email, phone, and internet communications to commit fraud across state lines, Hayes noted. Each investor communication constitutes a separate wire fraud count. The conspiracy charges reflected Hughes's coordination with business partners and technical consultants who had assisted in the systematic extraction and commercialization of stolen intellectual property. Hughes's business formation involved multiple individuals who participated in the systematic theft and commercial exploitation, Hayes explained. The conspiracy aspects create additional liability for all participants. Hughes's attempts to hire experienced criminal defense attorneys were complicated by asset freezing orders that had secured his personal and business accounts pending restitution determination. Hughes cannot access funds for legal representation because his assets are presumptively derived from intellectual property theft, asset recovery specialist Linda Thompson noted. The court appointed public defenders to represent Hughes, but their initial case review revealed evidence so overwhelming that plea negotiations became their immediate priority. The documentary evidence against Hughes eliminates any possibility of successful defense at trial, Public Defender William Martinez stated. Our focus must be on minimizing criminal exposure through cooperation and full restitution. But Hughes continued claiming that his algorithms represented independent development rather than systematic theft, despite overwhelming evidence of copying and commercial exploitation. Hughes maintains that his technology was developed independently, his attorney reported. He claims that similarities to quantum analytics algorithms are coincidental rather than evidence of theft. The technical analysis conducted by court-appointed experts immediately contradicted Hughes's claims about independent development and proved systematic copying of proprietary algorithms. Hughes's algorithms are identical to quantum analytics proprietary systems down to variable names and function structures. Court expert David Kim reported, independent development could not produce such detailed similarity. The comprehensive evidence was making Hughes's prosecution inevitable while ensuring complete protection for our intellectual property and recovery of development investment costs. Hughes's systematic theft creates liability that exceeds $2 million in development costs, plus damages for competitive harm and criminal penalties, Marcus calculated. The coordinated legal strategy, was achieving complete victory across all jurisdictions while establishing legal precedents that would protect other technology companies from systematic IP theft by departing employees. Have you ever witnessed systematic intellectual property theft completely exposed and prosecuted through coordinated legal actions that established industry-wide protection precedents? Sometimes, comprehensive evidence and strategic legal thinking create accountability that extends far beyond individual cases. The complete collapse of Hughes's competing venture occurred within 8 weeks of our initial legal actions, as the coordinated criminal prosecution, patent enforcement, and civil litigation eliminated every aspect of his business model while exposing his systematic intellectual property theft to industry scrutiny that permanently damaged his professional reputation and career prospects. The comprehensive evidence I had compiled created legal accountability that exceeded initial expectations while establishing industry standards for protecting proprietary algorithms. Hughes's criminal plea negotiations collapsed when federal prosecutors determined that his systematic theft warranted maximum penalties rather than reduced sentences through cooperation agreements. Hughes's pattern of IP theft across multiple employers demonstrates professional criminal activity that justifies enhanced federal sentencing, Prosecutor Jennifer Hayes stated. The systematic nature of his theft eliminates most plea bargaining options. The federal charges that Hughes faced included 14 counts of trade secret theft, 23 counts of wire fraud, conspiracy to commit intellectual property trafficking, and attempted fraud in patent prosecution that carried combined potential sentences exceeding 30 years in federal prison. Each stolen algorithm constitutes a separate trade secret violation, while each investor communication represents individual wire fraud, Hayes calculated. The comprehensive charges reflect the systematic scope of Hughes's criminal enterprise. The Patent Office investigation had resulted in rejection of all Hughes's patent applications, plus referral for criminal prosecution based on fraud in patent prosecution and attempted theft of proprietary technology. Hughes's patent applications were rejected for prior art violations and fraudulent prosecution, patent examiner Sarah Martinez reported. His attempts to patent stolen technology constitute additional federal crimes. But the most devastating aspect of Hughes's legal exposure was the civil damages calculation that exceeded $2.8 million in development costs, competitive harm, and punitive penalties for willful infringement. Hughes's systematic theft created damages that include research investment, competitive losses, and punitive penalties for willful misappropriation, Marcus Bradley calculated. The total liability exceeds anything Hughes could possibly pay. The asset forfeiture proceedings had secured Hughes's personal and business accounts to ensure availability for restitution, but the amounts involved were insufficient to cover the comprehensive damages his theft had created. Hughes's frozen assets total approximately $340,000, which covers less than 15% of the documented damages, asset recovery specialist Linda Thompson reported. Meanwhile, my systematic documentation methods were generating industry recognition and consulting opportunities that exceeded the financial recovery from Hughes's prosecution. Theodore's comprehensive approach to intellectual property protection has become the industry standard for technology companies, noted venture partner Robert Kim. His documentation methods provide complete protection against departing employee theft. The professional speaking opportunities at technology conferences and legal seminars were providing additional income while establishing my reputation as an expert in IP protection and systematic documentation strategies. Walsh's experience demonstrates how systematic documentation can transform potential IP theft into comprehensive legal victory, observed conference organizer Patricia Newman. The consulting services I had developed were attracting technology companies across multiple industries who needed enhanced protection for proprietary algorithms and development methodologies. Theodore's documentation protocols provide comprehensive protection that prevents IP theft while enabling rapid legal response when violations occur, noted client testimonial from AI startup director Jennifer Adams. But the most meaningful outcome was the validation of systematic approaches to intellectual property protection as essential business practices rather than optional administrative procedures. Hughes's prosecution proves that comprehensive IP documentation isn't bureaucratic overhead. It's essential protection for competitive advantages, I reflected during industry presentations. The FBI had requested permission to use our case as training material for federal agents investigating intellectual property crimes involving departing employees and systematic trade secret theft. Walsh's evidence compilation provides a model for detecting and prosecuting systematic IP theft, FBI investigator Thomas Reynolds noted. His methods should be adopted by technology companies to prevent similar crimes. Hughes's sentencing hearing included victim impact statements from our development team members whose work had been systematically stolen and exploited for Hughes's personal financial gain. Ryan Hughes stole 3 years of our collective innovation and attempted to profit from algorithms that represented our professional expertise, testified senior developer Michael Torres. The comprehensive nature of Hughes's theft had affected not just company assets, but individual team members whose contributions had been systematically appropriated without consent or compensation. Hughes's theft violated the trust and collaboration that makes technology development possible, testified machine learning specialist Sarah Davis. Federal Judge Patricia Morrison imposed the maximum sentence of 24 years in federal prison, plus complete restitution and permanent disbarment from technology industry employment. Mr. Hughes's systematic theft of intellectual property represents a serious threat to innovation and technology development, Judge Morrison stated. His professional exploitation of trusted relationships warrants maximum punishment under federal guidelines. The criminal conviction and professional sanctions provided appropriate accountability, while my systematic response had created industry recognition and business opportunities that exceeded our original competitive position. Hughes's theft ultimately strengthened rather than weakened quantum analytics market position, noted industry analyst David Martinez. Walsh's documentation methods attracted additional venture capital and strategic partnerships. The additional funding that resulted from investor confidence in our IP protection had enabled expansion into new market segments and enhanced algorithm development that exceeded our original business plan projections. Investor confidence in our intellectual property protection attracted Series C funding of $25 million, CEO Jennifer Martinez announced. Theodore's systematic approach provides competitive advantages that justify premium valuations. The technology platform we had developed, using the recovered damages and additional funding, was generating annual revenue of $4.2 million while maintaining market leadership in predictive analytics and automated decision-making systems. Our enhanced IP protection and systematic documentation attract clients who need guaranteed algorithmic security, I noted during business development presentations. Hughes's systematic theft had inadvertently created opportunities for professional growth, industry recognition, and business expansion that wouldn't have been possible without the comprehensive legal victory that validated systematic approaches to IP protection. Sometimes the most sophisticated intellectual property theft creates catalysts for systematic improvement and competitive advantage, I observed during strategic planning sessions. The documentation methods that had exposed Hughes's theft were being licensed to other technology companies while providing ongoing consulting revenue and industry leadership recognition. Have you ever discovered that systematic documentation and strategic legal response could transform attempted IP theft into enhanced competitive advantage and industry recognition? Sometimes, comprehensive protection becomes the foundation for business growth that exceeds original projections through validated expertise and professional credibility. Standing in my expanded office 18 months after Hughes's conviction and imprisonment, I reflected on how his systematic intellectual property theft had inadvertently transformed our competitive position and established quantum analytics solutions as the industry leader in algorithmic security and IP protection methodologies. The $400,000 in damages we recovered, combined with $25 million in additional venture funding, attracted by our demonstrated IP protection capabilities, had enabled business expansion that exceeded our original projections by 340%. The new development facility occupied 15,000 square feet in Seattle's technology corridor, with advanced security systems and comprehensive documentation protocols that prevented unauthorized access while providing complete transparency for legitimate collaborative development. Working in an environment with systematic IP protection provides security and confidence that allows maximum creative focus, noted senior developer Michael Torres. Theodore's documentation methods protect our innovations while supporting collaborative excellence. The intellectual property consulting practice I had developed was generating annual revenue of $180,000 while establishing industry standards for systematic algorithm protection and trade secret management. Walsh's IP protection protocols have become mandatory for technology companies seeking venture capital funding, observed investment partner Robert Kim. His methods provide investor confidence that competitive advantages are sustainable and defensible. The patent portfolio we had expanded using recovered damages included 23 approved applications that created comprehensive protection for our algorithmic innovations while generating licensing revenue from companies seeking to implement similar technologies. Theodore's systematic approach to patent filing and IP documentation provides market exclusivity that justifies premium pricing and strategic partnerships, CEO Jennifer Martinez noted during quarterly reviews. But the most significant outcome was the industry recognition that established me as the definitive expert in intellectual property protection for technology companies facing systematic theft by departing employees. Walsh's experience demonstrates that comprehensive documentation and strategic legal thinking can transform IP theft attempts into competitive advantages, noted Technology Leadership magazine. The FBI training programs I conducted for federal agents investigating intellectual property crimes were providing additional income while contributing to law enforcement capabilities that protected the entire technology industry. Walsh's evidence compilation methods have become standard procedures for investigating systematic trade secret theft, FBI trainer Thomas Reynolds reported. His protocols enable rapid identification and prosecution of IP crimes. Annual speaking engagements at technology conferences, legal seminars, and business schools were generating supplemental revenue while reinforcing my expertise in systematic protection and strategic response to intellectual property threats. Walsh's transformation from theft victim to industry expert demonstrates how systematic thinking and comprehensive documentation create lasting competitive advantages, observed conference organizer Patricia Newman. Hughes's 24-year federal prison sentence had concluded with his permanent disbarment from technology industry employment, ensuring that he could never again exploit professional relationships to steal proprietary algorithms or trade secrets. Hughes's conviction sends clear messages throughout the technology industry about the consequences of systematic IP theft, prosecutor Jennifer Hayes had stated. His case demonstrates that departing employee theft carries serious criminal liability that cannot be avoided through sophisticated planning. But Hughes's prosecution had also created enhanced protection for technology innovation by establishing legal precedents that strengthened trade secret enforcement and patent protection for algorithmic development. The Hughes prosecution clarified federal jurisdiction and enforcement capabilities for intellectual property crimes involving interstate commerce, legal analyst David Martinez noted. The business opportunities that resulted from our legal victory had attracted strategic partnerships with major technology companies who needed enhanced IP protection for collaborative development projects. Quantum analytics demonstrated IP security capabilities make them ideal partners for joint development initiatives, noted Microsoft Strategic Alliance Director Sarah Davis. The additional revenue streams from consulting, licensing, and strategic partnerships had increased annual income to $520,000 while providing professional satisfaction that exceeded anything achievable through traditional technology employment. Independent expertise in IP protection creates business opportunities that transcend normal technology career limitations, I reflected during professional development presentations. The systematic documentation methods that had exposed Hughes's theft were being adopted by technology companies worldwide while generating ongoing consulting revenue and industry leadership recognition. Walsh's documentation protocols provide comprehensive protection that enables technology companies to pursue aggressive development strategies without fear of IP theft, noted international consulting client Jennifer Adams. Looking back on Hughes's systematic betrayal and attempted theft of our competitive advantages, I realized that his sophisticated criminal scheme had inadvertently created opportunities for professional growth, industry recognition, and business success that exceeded anything our original development work could have achieved. Sometimes the most comprehensive intellectual property theft becomes the catalyst for systematic improvement and competitive advantage that transforms entire industry practices, I observed during strategic planning workshops. The algorithms that Hughes had attempted to steal were serving as the foundation for expanded product development that generated revenue and market recognition far exceeding their original commercial potential. Hughes's theft attempt validated the commercial value of our innovations while creating legal precedents that enhanced their competitive protection, I noted during investor presentations. The comprehensive legal victory had demonstrated that systematic documentation and strategic legal thinking provided more reliable protection for intellectual property than technical security measures or employment agreements alone. Professional expertise in IP protection and systematic documentation creates sustainable competitive advantages that transcend individual technology innovations, I explained during technology leadership seminars. Hughes's criminal conviction and our subsequent business expansion had established industry standards for intellectual property protection that were benefiting technology companies nationwide while generating ongoing recognition and revenue opportunities. The Hughes case changed how technology companies approach IP protection and departing employee management, noted Industry Association President Michael Torres. The experience had proven that comprehensive preparation and systematic documentation could transform attempted intellectual property theft into enhanced competitive position and industry leadership recognition. Hughes's attempt to destroy our competitive advantages through systematic theft had ultimately strengthened our market position while creating professional opportunities and business success that exceeded anything the original algorithms could have generated independently. The people who attempt to steal others' professional innovations through systematic theft sometimes end up creating opportunities for their victims to achieve greater success through validated expertise and comprehensive legal victory. Professional competence in systematic documentation and strategic legal thinking proves as valuable for business development as technical innovation capabilities, especially when combined with demonstrated ability to protect intellectual property from sophisticated threats. Have you discovered that systematic IP protection and comprehensive documentation can transform attempted theft into enhanced competitive advantage and industry recognition? Sometimes, intellectual property crimes become catalysts for professional growth and business expansion that exceed original development projections through validated expertise and legal precedent establishment. If this story of systematic documentation and intellectual property protection resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button to Revenge Tales with Luke. Share your experiences with technology theft and professional IP protection in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who's facing similar challenges with departing employee theft and systematic intellectual property crimes. See you in our next story.